What is up, everyone? Brandon First, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome into another edition of the Changeup. We break down everything Major League Baseball has to offer. With me, as always, my co-host Bryanna Winner. You can find Bryanna at bwinner12. Bryanna, how you doing today?
It's been a busy 2 weeks because it's been 2 weeks since we've been on. It's been busy. So I'm glad to finally be able to do this.
Amen. Yeah, we're getting to that point. Recording here on the 12th of September. Obviously, September baseball in full swing as we finish up the final month of the season and figure out who's going to get the tickets to the dances for the opportunity to win the World Series. Plenty to get to. We will take a look at that playoff picture, take a look at our individual teams, also take a look at some rule changes that came down that are going to be interesting. But we will start at the top. A few weeks ago, maybe the last time we spoke, or at least 2 episodes ago, we broached the subject of Albert Pujols possibly getting to 700, and that was going to be a tough number to hit. Well, he's been on fire over the last month. Let's say, as yesterday he hit his 697th home run to pass Alex Rodriguez, now only 3 away from 700. Really interesting stuff for Albert Pujols last month, kind of turning it on, and now the whole country kind of wondering, will he get 3 more in the next 3 weeks? Bryanna, what are your thoughts on Pujols making a late push at 700?
To answer the question, yes, he will most likely do it. Whether it's in a week, whether it takes the entirety of the 3 weeks, whether it even takes playoffs, who knows at this point? But he's going to do it. Like maybe a few weeks ago, we weren't quite sure. I said he was probably going to do it within a matter of weeks.
You almost got it.
I did. Did you see what he did last after that home run though?
With the ball?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really cool.
So this couple pretty much caught the ball. We're going to hand it back. Pujols found out that her father had passed away a year ago and instead let them keep the ball and sign 2 more and give it to them.
Yeah, I love his reasoning because I agree with him. Look, 697 really special, and it does pass Alex Rodriguez.
But 700 is going to be worth it.
Yeah, and 500, he's got those like there. I really don't think there's anything that Albert Pujols is missing from his memorabilia collection. He said that it would probably mean more to you, speaking to the lady, than it would to me. And I think Albert Pujols is one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and maybe one of the best human beings, at least from what we've seen. I've always kind of been that person that says, you don't know everything, but I really do think Albert Pujols, from what we've seen on and off the field thus far, a really good guy, and good for him. I don't think there's a single baseball fan out there that's rooting against him hitting 700.
I'm pretty sure all the other teams are rooting for him.
Exactly. Yes, I'm wondering if.
Yes, the pitchers don't want him to hit a home run off of them, but at the same time, they want to see him reach the milestone.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting here over the next 3 weeks, obviously. And the big question, I guess, will then be, if we end the season and he's at 699, does he just sign a 10-day like just give him one somehow, some way? He's got to come back next year and hit 1 home run, but that'll be something to keep an eye on. Hopefully we don't have to get to that. Hopefully it'll be a storybook ending, 700 on the final day or something like that, but we'll keep an eye on that. Some news coming down this past over the past, I guess, weekend. It was Major League Baseball's rule changes coming next year, notably bigger bases, and then the pitcher clock. That's going to be interesting because you got, I think it's 15 seconds with nobody on base, and 20 seconds with runners on base. If the batter violates it, it's a strike. If the pitcher violates it, it's a ball. It'll be interesting to see how all this shakes out. They've done this, I believe, in Double-A, and they've liked the results. I saw a graphic that essentially nothing has changed other than the time of the game, which takes about 20 minutes off the game, which I'm okay with. There are definitely some other rules that concern me, but Bryanna, let's get your thoughts on so far the rule changes that'll be coming down next season to Major League Baseball.
I don't know how to feel with the pitch clock. Yes, it'll make the game faster, but it's also going to mess with the pitcher's like mentality going in because they have a routine and now they're about to mess with that routine. So I guess we'll see what happens. There might be a lot of balls called, especially at the start, just because of the fact that nobody's going to remember that there is a pitch clock. But I think that's going to harm the pitchers more than anything else. Yes, people want this game to go faster, but at the same time, it's not going to be as fun for the players.
Yeah, I think the pitch clock, it'll take some getting used to. I agree with you on that. I think it'll take some getting there. But what's up, Bryanna?
Will this be part of, let's say, relievers coming in, doing their warm-up pitches on the mound after, let's say, their walk-up song? Or is this...
I think they'll get their normal. I mean, let's be honest. There's if there's one thing Major League Baseball is not getting rid of, it's that pitching change commercial break. So I don't think that'll affect a whole lot. But I do think
everybody loves the songs.
Oh yeah, 100%, and that won't go away. Like I said, if you give Major League Baseball an opportunity to even extend those commercial breaks an extra 10 seconds, they love that. They'll push the game to 3 hours if it means more revenue for ads. And my big thing is where they put these clocks, because these pitchers, like you said, they're not used to trying to find a clock. You know, it's you're on the rubber and you're pretty much focused on the catcher. It's going to be interesting. I don't know if they put them like kind of in the peripherals behind the batter's box, things like that.
We know where they've put them when they've tried this with minor leagues.
It is in kind of like the peripherals. From I've only seen one stadium do it, or I don't know. I don't even know where it was, but it was kind of it was almost like on the on deck circles. If you kind of think of it that way, maybe a little closer. But it is kind of one of those, you're looking at home plate and you will have to shift your eye, or at least, like I said, in this one ballpark, I don't know where it was or whatever. I don't even know why I saw it. But it's very similar to like quarterbacks with the play clock, right? They have to kind of identify that. It's different in every stadium for the most part. So that'll be interesting to me. I'll be honest, the one that I think has snuck through a lot of people's, I guess, the rule change that has snuck by a lot of people that I think is going to change everything is the pitcher can only step off the rubber twice. And then the third time the batter gets an extra base. I know sometimes we get frustrated with pickoff moves and maybe there's too many of them, but now we're in a situation where if you go 2 pickoffs, that's it. I mean, I don't like it. I think it's going to change way too much of the way a pitcher versus a base runner, that kind of chess matchup goes. And then you also get to the point of, are they even going to throw over at this point? Because once you throw over once, it kind of then becomes a do or die situation in the second. I just don't like that rule. All the others, I guess I could live with. The bases being bigger. You know, I don't know. I think
they're doing that one for safety reasons.
I understand, but is that, see, my question is, and I should have checked into this, but is that only first base or is that all bases? Because the only thing that needs to be bigger is first base. If we're doing that for player safety, it's only needs to be first base.
I don't think they can make home plate bigger.
No. Sorry. Yeah, I should have more like yeah, they cannot. Angel Hernandez does that enough. We do not need more Angel Hernandez's making the plate bigger. No. But in terms of like second and third base, because those matter of inches from, you know, to get in for a slide, and when you're getting those enlarging those bases, I think it changes things. If it is only first base, I understand where they're coming from, because yeah, there are situations, but I also think there are a lot of times where you see the first baseman get into a collision. A lot of it's because of the throw, and sometimes that throw brings you into the middle of the bag and you just got to kind of eat it. I don't know if a bigger base will change that, but it's going to be interesting. I'll be surprised to see the first 3 months of how this is enforced. And the big question is who's going to get screwed? I mean, I hate to say it, but there's going to be, but in terms of like, there's going to be a game where the outcome changes because of one way or another. I don't know when it is, and I knock on wood, I hope that I'm wrong, but I think we all know that somehow, some way next year in the whatever thousands of games that are going to be played, one of them will be changed by this rule. I guess that's my next question for that. And obviously no one can answer that. But it'll be very interesting to see how that goes going forward. Rob Manfred, this is his kind of do or die. I think this is his maybe last stand. No robo umps, which a lot of people were expecting. So I don't know. I'm kind of ready for him, if I'm being honest. There've been too many just ridiculous stuff lately.
Depends on who the umpire is.
Huh? Yeah, you're right. And we all know who we're pretty much talking about right now. But moving on to
MLB because of the lack of World Series appearances for himself.
Yeah, and then MLB wins the suit. Even the justices decided that
the reasoning was correct.
Yeah, 100%.
He just doesn't want to believe it.
Oh, poetic justice.
He's horrible.
Yes, yes. Angel Hernandez, please. Joe West left last year. Do us all a favor. Get up and out now. But moving on to taking a look over the playoff picture in both the American League and National League. We will start in the American League, where things have been shaken up a little bit. We'll start in the American League East. The Yankees, their big lead has shrunk. Still have a nice little lead, but they've been struggling of late. The Yankees still in first, but Tampa right behind them, 5.5 back. Toronto, 6 games back. The pesky Orioles, 11.5 back. Boston, really the only team in this division without any playoff hopes. They are 16 games back. The the AL East looks like the Yankees will probably hold on. But Bryanna, what are your thoughts? Do you think Tampa or Toronto have enough in the tank to win the division?
It'll probably depend on who they play. But I'm surprised nobody has officially been eliminated from this division yet.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that's probably due to the Yankees kind of struggling of late. The Red Sox, I feel like they were above 500 and they were 16 games out, and now they're below and still 16 out.
And the Yankees faced the Red Sox, then the Brewers, then the Pirates, and then the Red Sox again.
Okay.
Before they finally get the Blue Jays. So
it'll
depend. It'll depend on how they play against these teams. Because look, I was very happy when the Yankees kind of just fell off against the Angels. I was very happy. But at the same time, it just depends on which team shows up.
Yeah, they've been arguably one of the worst teams in the American League post All-Star break.
At least the All-Star bug never hit them.
Sorry?
Not the All-Star bug. The injury bug never hit them.
Yeah, it was the All-Star bug that got him, not the injury bug. Yeah, and trading the legend Joey Gallo, apparently that was not good karma for them. But
no.
Moving on to the American League Central, which for the most part this season has been pretty mediocre. They're playing, I guess, a little bit better, but you got Cleveland up at the top, rather surprisingly, I would say, 73-65. They're 2.5 games up on the White Sox. The Twins have officially fallen off. They are 2-8 in their last 10, 4.5 games back. And then you have Kansas City and Detroit, 17.5 and 20 games back, respectively. Not been a factor at all this year. It's been essentially a 3-team race. I think now it's a 2-team race. I think Minnesota has finally hit their ceiling and they're falling off. Cleveland or Chicago, who you got?
Look, I think the rebranding for Cleveland may have worked out for them. I think it's going to be Cleveland, especially if the White Sox keep going the way they're going. Look, they have a -11 differential and they have a 1-game losing streak right now. So it really depends. And the White Sox are sandwiched between the Guardians and the Twins, who have the same, like, pretty much positive differentials. So I don't know what the hell is going on with those White Sox. Look, they have the Rockies and then they have the Tigers. They have 1 game against the Guardians in the middle just because of a makeup game. Oh, okay. So that Guardians game is going to really make or break them.
Yeah.
Because I think them again later in the month.
Yeah, Cleveland has surprised me I don't think Terry Francona gets enough credit. That guy has been getting a lot done with not a lot on that roster. Obviously, Jose Ramirez is there, a really good talent, but they don't have a lot of talent elsewhere. They're one of the smallest payrolls in baseball, and they're on their way to a division title. Always seem to be competitive. I agree with you. I think that the Guardians get the job done. They end up doing it, and this will not be a wild card division. All the wild cards more than likely are coming out of either the East or the Mariners. That's it. So, good luck to those two teams. But if you win this division, fantastic. If not, you will not be in the playoffs. So we are going to move on to the American League West. How much to the chagrin of my co-host, I know. We'll go quick though.
As long as I can get third, I don't care.
Yeah,
it'll be above those Rangers.
It'll be Houston continuing to lead this division. They're 90-50. They're 12 games up on the resurgent Mariners, who are 11 games back. I don't know why I said 12. Make that 11 games back. I was looking at their elimination number. But yes. And then we have the Angels, Rangers, and A's in that order. Angels and Rangers are tied currently for fourth or third, however you want to look at it. But all three of those teams have been eliminated from playoff contention. Bryanna, if you'd like, any thoughts? If not, I'll say what I got to say.
I like your version better because mine shows the Rangers above the Angels.
Oh, perfect.
I love your version better.
Yes, MLB.com. Bryanna approved.
As long as the Angels can get third, I don't care anymore. They started off so well, and then I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it was that tough losing streak for sure. But I think unfortunately Houston, they're now the top dog in this league. The Yankees have fallen off, and now it's once again Houston's to lose. It seems like that's been the case pretty much the last 4 or 5 years. Seattle's an interesting case. I think we're all just kind of in awe of what they've been able to do, them in Baltimore. But Seattle looking like they're going to be a wild card team, and that's a perfect little segue into what the wild card looks like. Right now, you have Tampa Bay and Seattle both technically tied. You have Tampa Bay, who is just a win percentage above Seattle, so they would technically host that 2-game series. And then you have Toronto, the last team into the playoffs. And Baltimore is on the outside looking in with the White Sox and Twins. Baltimore 5.5 back, the White Sox 7 back. I think in the AL wild card, I think those 3 teams make it. Now we're just going to figure out what seed they end up getting. 5.5 is a lot to make up over the next 3 weeks for Baltimore. But Bryanna, what are your thoughts on the American League wild card?
Do I really want to have an input in this?
Yeah, I think so.
I really want the Mariners to make this in. I really want the Mariners in. I really, really do. And I think that they could take out, fingers crossed, the Astros at some point.
Oh, wow. Like to win the division?
No.
Okay.
No. There's no way they're winning the division.
Okay, I just wanted to warn you on that. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, in like a best of 5 or something like that. I agree with you. Okay, I like that. I just wanted to make sure I could kind of like temper your expectations. But yeah, no, I agree. I think at this point, anybody but the Astros. I mean, I hate the Yankees, don't get me wrong, but I mean, they cheated too, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. How about the Mariners just do what the Mariners need to do, or the Rays do what they need to do?
In regards to the Yankees, though, at least they aren't injury prone this year.
Yep.
So I'll give them that. Like, if they can make it and not have a serious injury to kill them, I don't care.
There you go.
Kudos to them for not having to deal with all of those injuries that they have in years past.
Yeah. Moving on to the National League side of things, we'll start in the Central. National League Central was one of the toughest or the tightest divisions all season. That has not been the case of late. The Cardinals have opened up a 8-game lead on Milwaukee. You then have 3 of the worst teams in all of baseball with Chicago, the Reds, and Pittsburgh all pulling up the end. Not really anything to discuss here, I don't think. other than whether or not Milwaukee will make a wild card push, but that will come in a minute. Bryanna, any chance that St. Louis somehow squanders an 8-game lead? There we go. Perfect. Moving on to the National League East.
If you look at the Brewers schedule coming up, though, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's Cardinals, Yankees, Mets.
Yes.
There is no chance that
I agree.
Cardinals will screw this up.
Yeah. It'll be it would take a lot. A huge collapse, and I don't think they're going to do that. On the National League East side of things, though, speaking of collapses, the Mets, they're in the middle of one right now. They're playing okay of late. They've won 2 in a row, but that lead that would seem to be 15 or 12 all season is only down to a game and a half over the defending World Series champ, Atlanta Braves. You then have the Philadelphia Phillies, who are 10.5 back, still in the fight for a playoff spot. And then the Miami Marlins
Padres
and Washington Nationals. Miami and Washington both already eliminated, 31.5 games back, and Washington a cool 40 games back. Bryanna, who wins the East, the Mets or the Braves?
I think the Mets might be able to pull it out. Look, they've been leading the entire time. Every time that it went to a game and a half, they were able to extend it, and it's just been fluctuating the entire time. If you look at the Braves, they've got the Giants, then the Phillies, and then the Nationals, which obviously is not much of a concern there. Meanwhile, the Mets are currently losing 5-0 to the Cubs.
Ooh.
Bottom of the 4th. There's still a lot of time. So they've got the Cubs, and then obviously they've got the Pirates, the Brewers, and then the A's. And then the Marlins. So I really don't think the Mets will screw up that badly.
Yeah, that would take a lot.
What the schedules look like. So I think that the Mets will still be able to pull it out. They don't play each other until the end of the month anyway, going into October.
Yeah, wow. Shoo. Moving on to the National League West. This division's been done pretty much since, June. The Dodgers are going to win it. They're up 20 games on the Padres, 29.5 on San Francisco. Arizona, they're up 30 games on, and Colorado still somehow fighting. They're 36 games up on the Rockies. The Dodgers last night or yesterday, the first team to clinch a playoff spot. They are probably 3 days away from clinching the division as well. It's pretty interesting. Bryanna, any thoughts on the West?
Well, they haven't clinched a berth yet.
Postseason? Yeah, they have. They clinched it yesterday.
MLB error means Dodgers haven't clinched berth yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw plenty of things from. Well, there were CBS Sports, MLB, all of them yesterday said they clinched it. So they didn't crunch the numbers, but went with what was given to me. But they will in the next 24 hours.
There was an internal error.
Okay, well, in 24 hours, the Dodgers will clinch a playoff spot.
Yeah, 24 hours, yes, but not yesterday. It failed to account for a potential scenario to which the Padres overtake the Dodgers for the National League West title. And
that right there tells me that once again, for me, I'm going to say the Dodgers have clinched a playoff spot.
Yeah, they didn't account for certain scenarios, so they haven't officially clinched yet. They should have in the next 24 hours, though.
Yeah. So the wild card side of things, the Braves are going to be the Braves or Mets, whoever finishes second in that division will get that top wild card spot. They're 10.5 games up currently on the Phillies, who have that second wild card spot. And then, of course, the Padres and Brewers fighting for that last wild card spot. Brewers are 2 games behind the Padres at the moment. You brought up the schedule the Brewers have. That makes me feel good as a Padre fan. But Bryanna, what are your thoughts on the National League wild card?
Well, looking at your schedule, though, you could overtake them for a little bit. Yeah. And then you've got the Cardinals.
Yeah. Well, I think we're better than the Cardinals.
Yeah, but you have the Dodgers again at the end of the month. So
yeah, at this point, if you're a Padre fan and you play the Dodgers, our moniker is just don't get swept.
Yeah,
pretty much what we do.
And meanwhile, the Phillies have the Cubs at the end of the month, and then they have Marlins now, Braves, Blue Jays, Braves again. And then they have the Nationals to end out the month and going into October. So
I like where the Padres sit right now. I would rather finish as the 6th seed, if you will, for a multitude of reasons. First and foremost, you play the Cardinals straight out of the gate in that 3-game series. I think the Padres can do that. They've already beaten the Cardinals in a 3-game playoff series back in the COVID year. They did that. And secondly, next up after that, you would go to LA and you would say, oh my gosh, well, Padres versus the Dodgers. Why would you want that? Well, we're gonna have to beat them eventually if we want to get to the World Series. Our best chance of beating the Dodgers is in a 5-game series, not a 7-game series. So I think if you can kind of finesse your way into that final playoff spot, that's where you want to be. However, that's kind of a perilous place to be. You'd rather probably be somewhere where you have a little bit room for error, but we'll see. Definitely better situation than we were in last year, where we were just in complete free fall. So we'll see. 2-game lead on Milwaukee. You brought up Milwaukee's schedule. It's going to be tough for them. Padres will have some issues, but overall, I think they have a bit of an easier schedule. So, Bryanna, it is now time to step into the winner's circle. I know you don't want to do it, but
I really don't.
It's in your contract. And anyways, passing it over to you. What have you got for us in the winner's circle?
Well, they're completely out of it. That's the first thing I'm going to say. They're completely out of it. Hey, at least they've made a comeback on the Guardians right now. They're only down 5-4. So
Nice.
I will gladly take that because they were down 4-0 going into the 4th inning. So I'll gladly take it. Trout's hit his 7th home run in 7 consecutive games. Artie Moreno has been exploring the possibility of selling. Obviously, there hasn't been really any more news coming out of that. There might be at the end of the season, but not right now. I think they're just waiting until at least they are done within the next few weeks. And then I don't know if you saw this, but there are 2 teenagers from the Dominican Republic that are suing the Angels.
What happened?
They had the Angels and these 2 Dominican players had agreed to deals when these kids were 14, 15. And they pretty much last year was like, yeah, sorry, no, that deal's not happening anymore. But there's proof of this deals that were being signed. So yeah.
Interesting. Because I mean, I the way I thought 16 was the magic number.
It is. But at the same time, you got to think about like countries like the Dominican Republic where they'll just sign him young and then.
No, I would say like if that is the case for the Angels, I feel like that's breaking a rule if you are signing these players pre-16. Because like I said, as I've been the international amateurs, I think is what they're called. That 16 is, and now don't get me wrong, ages in Latin America are very cloudy, murky waters, but that's interesting.
That's it. That's all
Gotcha.
I got. There's
All
nothing else about. If they beat the Guardians, it might help a little bit. But
there you go. Yeah, it's tough up there. Yeah, interesting news with Artie Moreno possibly exploring the news or exploring the option of trading the team. That would be very, very interesting. But on the Padres side of things, it's been a lot of hit and miss. When the Padres aren't playing the LA Dodgers, they're actually a pretty good baseball team, but you could probably say that about most teams of late. You look at the Padres, they took 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks in the middle of losing 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers in 2 separate series. Looking ahead, they do have a pretty, I don't want to say easy schedule because they had a lot of trouble with Seattle. Seattle, actually, their winning streak kind of got started sweeping the Padres after the Padres looked so good. Seattle came into town and did what they needed to do. They will be in Seattle for those 2 and then head to Arizona, another team they've struggled with, for a 4-game weekend series. It's going to be very, very pivotal because once again, we talked about the Brewers hot on the tail of the Padres. They're 2 games back for that wild card spot. Manny Machado has been hitting the cover off the ball. He's really, really blossomed into, the team leader that needs to be. Juan Soto has struggled a bit, still gets on base, but the hitting with runners in scoring position will continue to be the Padres' kryptonite going forward. inability to beat the Dodgers, but inability to find a reliable rotation. Clevenger, Musgrove, and Darvish, those three really have been pretty consistent. Snell also been consistent. Sean Manaea has essentially fallen off the face of the earth. Unfortunately, it's tough to find that fifth guy. But looking ahead after those 6 games with Seattle and Arizona, back home against St. Louis, and then on the road again for Colorado before a long homestand. One thing the Padres have going for them, their final 9 games of the season will be at home. 3 of them against the Dodgers, yes. 3 of them against the White Sox, 3 of them against the Giants. Still, though, 9 home games to finish out the year. That's going to be very interesting. This is it. This is the playoff push. There's 3 weeks left of baseball. Not a whole lot of room for error. Padres hoping to get that 6th seed. As I said, I want that 6th seed so we can get St. Louis in a shorter series with the Dodgers, but we'll see how that goes going forward. As we now shift gears and look at the 3 up, 3 down for the week, pretty much looking at some of the teams that are kind of on the hot streaks and the not so hot streaks. I had the ups this week. Start off in the NL Central. We have the St. Louis Cardinals. Last time we all spoke, the National League Central was essentially a sprint. That was 1 game every time we spoke. Not anymore. The Cardinals, I should say, have opened up a 8-game lead on the Brew Crew. They're 7-3 in their last 10, 1-2 in a row. Bryanna, what are your thoughts with St. Louis kind of taking control of the National League Central?
I was really hoping they would.
Yeah.
I really, really wanted them to. Yes, it sucks that the Cubs have been out of it all season, but look, they're in a rebuild like they usually are every single year. It's pretty much been a 2-team race in that division. There's nothing else you can say about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's Milwaukee has struggled, but St. Louis, they had a great trade deadline. And we started the show talking about Albert Pujols and his kind of resurgence. It's not a huge surprise that he's doing that while the Cardinals are getting ready to probably win another division title. So that's interesting there. Good for them. It'll be interesting to see as the Padres more than likely will be facing the Cardinals in that big 3-game series over the weekend in that playoff wild card series, whatever they call it. But Bryanna, what is our first down of the week?
We are staying in the division. It's the Milwaukee Brewers. Look, the only reason they're on this is because they led the division for a very, very long time this season when the Cardinals were struggling early on, even up to the All-Star break, they were struggling. And yes, Milwaukee may be 6-4 in their last 10, but now they have less than a 30% chance of making these playoffs with the fact that the Braves, Phillies, and Padres are all in front of them. That's the only reason why they're on here. That's going to be said from pretty much every single down because, look, these teams have just fallen flat and on their faces.
Yeah, it's the time to kind of step up or step out, and the Brewers look like they are stepping out, at least in the division race. Obviously, like I said, the wild card race, I don't want them to be very competitive, but they are at the moment. Still only 2 back, but as of now, the Cardinals well on their way to winning another division title, and mainly because of kind of the Brewers collapse here, kind of the tough side of things. So another tough side of it. Second up of the week, I had to do it. Look, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is a team that is on pace to put up 115 wins this year. They took 2 out of 3 from my Padres for the 2nd straight series. They continue to dominate over and over. 96-43. They are 53 games above 500. Excuse me. It's even hard for me to say, apparently. But they are very close. Obviously, like I said, I was thought last night was the time, but in the next 24 to 48 hours, they will have clinched a playoff spot. And with the Padres elimination number being 3 within the next 72 hours, they will have clinched the division as well. So, Bryanna, what are your thoughts? Unfortunately, once again, it's the Dodgers doing what they do.
No, thank you.
There we go. I like it. Moving on to our second down of the week, Bryanna, who you got?
White Sox. We've got the White Sox, another team. Like I said, with Milwaukee, pretty much every single team on this down list is going to be someone who's just fallen flat. The White Sox led Cleveland for a very long time, and now they've let Cleveland get a 2.5 game lead on them. Hey, at least they didn't choke as bad as Minnesota.
Yeah, we'll get to them in a minute, I feel like.
We will definitely get to them.
But yeah, I agree. The White Sox, even if, I mean, I know they always have injuries and, you know, the Tony La Russa thing and this and that. This is just a team that's been a disappointment all year. You know, we can sit here and say we're disappointed in Minnesota, but at the beginning of the year, if you would have showed us the standings, we would have said Minnesota probably exceeded our expectations. Now, obviously, that's frustrating because, you know, they were so good early and now they've struggled. Same thing with the White Sox, but they're not done. They're not out of it. Still only 2.5 back. Very small chance, but they still have a chance. It's going to be very interesting. They're definitely in the right division to kind of be average and still have a chance. It is that National or American League Central. It's going to be interesting. 2.5 games with 3 weeks to go. I think the Central and the National League East are going to be two of the divisions to keep your eye on down the stretch. So third and final up of the week is going to be the Seattle Mariners. Really, this is kind of a culmination of what they've done really over the last 3 months. They went into the All-Star break riding a 8 or 10 game win streak, and then we saw Julio Rodriguez just captivate us all in the home run derby, and they really haven't stopped since. Still 11 games behind the Astros, but 79-61. They are in the second wild card spot in the American League, technically tied right now with Tampa Bay for the top wild card, but a really good stuff we've seen from Seattle. They've won 2 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10 and a plus 66 run differential. Very nice. But Bryanna, what are your thoughts on the Mariners so far this year?
If it's not the Angels, I'd rather be the Mariners.
Definitely.
Especially since I think that if the Mariners can get a, let's say, 5-game series with the Astros, I think the Mariners could possibly take it. Yeah. Which we are all hoping for.
Yeah, I agree. The Mariners are a very interesting team because they're young and they're that young and stupid, right? Like I'm not talking about their actual intelligence, just in terms of they're too young to know that they're not supposed to be here. They're too young and ignorant to know that the Yankees and the Astros and the big bad so-and-sos, they're going to be the big boys. They don't care about all that. And I love that. So Bryanna, what is going to be our third and final down of the week?
The Twins. It's going to be the Twins. They went from competing for a playoff spot to having less than an 8% chance of even making it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh my God. Like, come on.
2-8 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. 9 games out of a wild card spot. 4.5 games out of the division. They have to be only looking at the division at this point. And even then, it's got to look pretty daunting. 4.5 games in third place. So you're not in 4.5 games in second place. You're 4.5 games and you have to jump another team. It's going to be tough for the Twins. I don't see how they do it. I think the Twins peaked early. Probably that All-Star break was when they were probably at their best. And the last 2 months, they've kind of shown their true colors for a second year in a row, let's be honest. But that's what we got for you on this edition of the podcast. Really, as we stare down, as I said, the final 3 weeks, a month from today will be the start of the division series. The season actually ends on a Wednesday, which will be kind of odd with the lockout and everything. And then those wild card series will go on that weekend. And then Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday through that following Tuesday, we'll see the division series get rolling. So playoff baseball right around the corner. Bryanna, final thoughts for this edition of the Changeup.
At least Minnesota isn't the Minnesota from 2020.
Wow. Yeah.
When COVID hit them hard and they just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And they brought down the Angels with them.
Yeah, for me, this is the time. Obviously, NFL football started. There's Monday Night Football in the background here at my place, and football's great. I love football, but baseball is always my number one. And this time of year, when you get football on Saturdays, it's nice because it's also a reminder that playoff baseball is right around the corner. And being a Padre fan, it's been quite a while since the Padres made the playoffs in 162 game season. It's not guaranteed. Looking okay right now. I think they have them like at a 60% chance. I think it's still more of a coin flip, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting down the stretch. We'll be with you for the rest of the time. Got a month plus till we crown our World Series champion. So with that, thank you all so much for listening to this edition of the Changeup presented by the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It's time for y'all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon. Take care.